for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the 81 All Out podcast. I'm Siddhartha Vaidyanathan at SidV on Twitter. And I'm delighted to be joined by three special guests today. Let me introduce them. I'll start off by introducing Meenal, who is at Granger_Gab on Twitter. She's a cricket tragic and a cooking maniac who's based in London. Hi, Meenal. Great to have you here.
Hey, Sid. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, wonderful. And we also have Jaikantan here. Jaikantan, who is a passionate cricket fan from Bangalore and is now also living in London. He works in human resources to pay his bills, but I think most of the time he's either watching or talking about cricket. So hi, Jai. Great to have you.
Hey, thanks, Sid. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, wonderful. And the third guest today is Brinda. She is at It's Brinda on Twitter. And she's an architect and lecturer who is based in Southampton. Also a big cricket fan and someone who I follow on Twitter, and I suggest you do too. Hi, Brinda.
Hi, Sid, and hi, Meenal and Jai.
Wonderful. So today we are talking about a slightly different topic from usual. I thought I'll bring Meenal, Jai, and Brinda to talk about their experiences of going to the stadiums in England while the World Cup is on. They've all been attending games. Very lucky people, of course. They've been watching them live and taking in all the experiences. So I thought I should get their perspective on what it's been like. Of course, we've heard a lot about the rain and weather, a lot of things about the weather and things. But I'm sure there's also been some wonderful sights and sounds that they've taken in. So, Meenal, why don't you start off? If you could just tell us about the games that you attended, who did you go with, and was there any particular reason you chose, say, game X or game Y?
Okay, so let me start off. I didn't get the choice to choose any games. It's what I won in the ballot, which came about last year. So I got tickets for India, Afghanistan, and India, West Indies, and India, Bangladesh. And when we got those tickets, we were probably thinking, we're probably going to go for dead rubber games, given how the tournament might span out. And so it turned out when I landed for the first game for India, Afghanistan, it turned out to be the second best game of the tournament. So that was exciting. And India, West Indies is what I would say probably was the best bowling performance of the Indian team in all these games. That's what I came out with from that game. And in terms of who I went with, my husband, and a little bit about my husband is that he is pursuing his umpiring with the English Cricket Board here. He's already a level 2 certified and he's now pursuing his level 3. So it's a different experience to watch with him. That's from my side. I'll let Jai and Brinda chip in now.
Well, I wish we could have had him too, because the umpiring has been a huge topic of discussion at this World Cup. So, but I think we should do a separate podcast just with him, so that I can.
You should. I guess you should, Sid. Yeah, he is. It's very insightful watching it with him because he knows the laws really in and out. And I do take pride that I understand the game and the technicalities and everything. But with him, it's just different. So yeah, maybe you should. I'll ask him and you guys can have him over.
Wonderful. So great. So let's move on to Jai. Jai, similar question. Yeah. What was the games you went to?
So, just like Meenal mentioned, I didn't have a choice. I applied, I think, for like 32 games or something in the ballot because, if I had won, I would have been a pauper by the end of it by paying money for all that. But thankfully, I just got 5 tickets. So the matches I've already gone to, or the first game for India, the India-South Africa game at Southampton. I went to Pakistan, South Africa at Lords last Sunday. Then, Meenal, coincidentally, I was there at Manchester as well, watching West Indies. And I'm going to see Australia and New Zealand tomorrow, and I've got a real dead rubber ticket and I'm not going now, which is Sri Lanka, West Indies on Monday up north in Durham. I was hoping, I'm a big West Indies fan. If I wanted one country to win the World Cup, that would have been West Indies. I was hoping West Indies would really do all that was promised, and I will actually make the trek to Durham, which is like a 4-hour train ride from London. But now I don't have to do that. So that was, and who did I go with? I always go to cricket games with my wife. And I feel so privileged that I married right to a person who's so passionate and fanatic and knows so much about the game. So we really enjoy watching the games together.
Jay, if you're a true blue West Indies fan, as I know you are, you should make the trek to Durham anyway, man. Come on.
It's a long way, Sid. It's a long way. Imagine if it's a washout.
And this is like, I'm actually, after the performance they put up yesterday, I am very disappointed. I know after 3 days I'll come back to supporting them. The least I can do is I'm going to work from home on Monday and cheer them from home.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think that sort of makes up for it. So fair enough. So Brinda, moving on to you, can you tell us a bit about the games you went to?
Yeah, so a bit of a contrast from Jay and Meenal. I've just been to one game on 9th of July, India-Australia at the Oval. We applied via the ballot. So my brother applied to the India-Australia game, and I applied to the India-South Africa game. I didn't get through, and he got through at the Oval. So we were very lucky. And since last July, August, since we got through, we've been literally counting down to 9th of July, just to watch India-Australia. And the reason it was almost like a countdown was because of the people I went with, which was my father, my brother, and my husband. And it was really a very, a memorable day for us, because my father and my brother are the ones who got me into cricket as we were growing up. And my husband and I, like the other two have mentioned, we share a common interest for sport, and we love watching sport together. And yeah, it was the most amazing experience. I feel very lucky, and we had a good game as well.
So how early were you at that game, and how was it? India, Australia. I'm imagining there would have been quite a few fans, especially the stands. From the stands, you saw so many Indian fans. How difficult was it to get in? I mean, how did you have to wait? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was so because we were coming all the way from Southampton. Well, I say all the way, but my brother came all the way from America. My father came all the way from the Middle East. But we had to drive up to London and then take the tube into at the Oval, the station. We thought we were in time because we reached at about 9:15, 9:30. We were outside the stadium, but it took us a good 45 minutes, I think, just queuing up. We missed the toss, which we were a bit disappointed about, but there was like a sea of Indians, and just outside the stadium you could get the feel, you could get the excitement and the whole buzz about India playing Australia. It was massive. It was just massive.
Yeah, I mean, I was in London back in 2007 when India were there, and I still remember how when you go on a train to a particular ground, whether it's Lord's or the Oval, the buzz really builds up, right? You have so many people on the train who are also going to the game, and many of them are either reading the newspaper or they're chattering. And it's before that, you probably don't even know that a game is on. At least that was back in 2007. But the moment you get into the train, and the moment you're like 4 or 5 stations away from the ground, you suddenly just feel like you're already in the stadium. Is that true for you guys in London, and also for you who went?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, go on, Jay. Sorry.
No, I was about to say about the train journey we had to Southampton to watch India South Africa. So that was the first India game, isn't it? And so we had to go from London Waterloo to Southampton, which is I think it was like a one hour kind of a train ride, 1 hour, 1 hour, 10-minute train ride, and that whole. What do you say? I think there were like 6 or 7 coaches, and there is one Caucasian person and one Chinese person on the train. That's it. Okay. So I'm sure the Chinese person, if they didn't know cricket, they would have wondered what is going on with all these brown people on an UK train. And when we were reaching the Southampton station, the guard on the train kind of announced that we might have a couple of minutes delayed because there is a minor event happening. And you should have seen the way people erupted. It was like traveling in one of those Indian local trains. That's how it felt. And last night, coming back from Manchester, we took the 8:15 train, and I think the whole train was only people who were coming back from Manchester to London. So the atmosphere was quite electric. Everybody, obviously, every Indian is a cricket critic, and everyone was analyzing the game to the T yesterday. And yeah, it's fantastic.
So
Meenal, anything to add?
Yeah, so actually we drove down to both the venues. But the moment we parked the car and we were headed to the stadium, people were chanting and people were screaming. And there's a misconception that this is a home tournament for the England team. Okay, I have to clarify this. This is not a home tournament for the England team. This is a home tournament for India.
Absolutely.
If you go to the stadiums, 80% of the fans are Indians. And it can get a bit intimidating if you're from the opposition team. At Old Trafford yesterday, in the stand that I was sitting, there were 4 West Indians. And and it was good banter. And they actually said to those West Indians that, I think, guys, you've got the wrong stand. So, and then they said, we don't know which is the right stand because everywhere you guys seem to be around. It was quite amusing, but it makes you realize how one is, I think UK also, there's a huge Indian population, but I think London has been quite easy for people to travel into from different parts of the world. And that's played a big role this time.
Absolutely. When we went to Southampton, I think all the people who were sitting around us were people who had actually come down from India, and they were not locals. And someone was telling me like 11,000 Indians have come to England to watch one game or the other. And even, so we had like a bus. Sid, your original question about how easy is it to get to, Meenal and Brinda mentioned they drove, but we've used public transport for all the matches, trains and buses, etc. The kind of organizing these guys have done is fantabulous. Okay, so from Southampton, for example, from the train station to the stadium, it's like a 15-20 minute walk, and they had free shuttle buses, etc. So we took those buses, and the bus again, there were so many people who had flown down from Mumbai, from Pune, from Chennai. So this is not an English home cricket World Cup. It's a cricket World Cup for India being played in England.
There was this article by this columnist Mukul Kesavan, who basically said that this was like a destination wedding, so Indians are basically...
Completely.
It was.
Absolutely.
I was just going to add, Sid, on terms of organization, and I moved to London in 2014 and I had traveled from Dubai in 2011. And I think UK organizes their sports events really well. All my cricket experience at the grounds has been excellent in terms of access, in terms of the stewards. The people are polite. You can carry your own food and water, something that is unheard of in Indian grounds. And it's very, very comfortable. And I would really urge people before they start. I know people crib about how the grounds are, etc., and how some of the traditions are at the ground. But it's a very comfortable experience watching the game on UK grounds. I've been to 5-6 of them. Really good.
Yeah, I've same here. I've gone to every single game which has happened in England in the last 5 years. I moved to UK in 2014 as well. And these guys know how to organize sports. It's not just cricket; it's any sport. They really, really know how to organize it, and it's amazing.
Yeah, Brinda, were you saying something?
No, I was just going to add to your comment on how this was almost like a destination wedding. It's the same for us. We meet as a family because we are all spread across the world. We meet as a family once a year in one location, and thanks to the World Cup, this time the destination to meet was in UK, and it couldn't have been more perfect. And I think we really lucked out because I think the games before us and after us were all rained out. So in terms of that, we got really lucky that after that entire build up about going to this one match, if it had rained, I would have cried.
Well, I won't put that as a headline for this podcast. If it had rained, I would have cried. But it is very, very tempting.
Go ahead. You have my permission. You can do that.
So I will come back to that bit about the organizing of the games and also the facilities and things. I think we can talk more about that. But one thing I want to find out about from you guys, talking to people and just getting a feel of it. I also read an article that says that there are people who are of Indian origin but born in the UK and who grew up in the UK who are also, supporting India. Now, this is the classic Tebet test that people often used to speak about in the 70s and 80s about immigrants supporting West Indies and things. But three of you who have lived in the UK for many years and have interacted with them, do you at all feel it is slightly odd that someone who has grown up in the UK, say your children too, who grow up in the UK and then, who grow up there all their lives, would you feel slightly odd if they support India, or would it be perfectly not natural?
I think it's perfectly natural. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. My husband, Indian origin, but he's grown up here. But I think it's a very natural support towards India. And it's not that I forced him into the Indian jersey or anything for that match. But it's a genuine support, I think, for the Indian cricket team. I think I don't doubt that.
I agree. I agree as well. I wouldn't be surprised if my daughter grew up to become an Indian, sports supporter. I think people, migration and people being born are more economic and convenience reason, isn't it? You can take an Indian out of India, but you can't take the Indianness out of an Indian. I know it's very cliched, but I think that's true. But I also know a couple of people who are, who were born here, who also kind of support England. They want England to do well as well, and they would support England in every game except against India, and they would support India. Whereas we would support any Asian country when they play against England, isn't that? That's what I have done. When Sri Lanka won against England, I was so thrilled to bits. Okay, so yeah,
I disagree there. Slightly. I think Nina is with me there.
Yes, slightly. I mean, no, it'll be really tough for me to support Bangladesh, but let's not go there on this podcast. But I agree with Ravi and Jay and Brinda that it's very common for people who've grown up here to support India. It's also because I think when people moved here in the 60s, 70s, they tried to hold on to the Indian traditions far more. I think some of the families I know here are more traditional than I am. Yeah. So I think that's a big factor. The other bit is I have a very dear friend, and he was my junior colleague at work. And his is a very curious case. His dad is Indian, but mom's Pakistani. But they both met here in UK and got married. And he's mixed hybrid child or a mixed race child. And he is an ardent England supporter. So he will never support India or Pakistan. He always supports England. And if England doesn't make it, then he'll think about supporting India or Pakistan. So I've met both sides, but I think the dominance is for them to, most families will have their kids supporting India, which is, I think, following in their parents' footsteps.
Yeah, a couple of people who were interviewed about this topic, they did say that when it comes to football, they will always support England in a World Cup because, that's something that they've done all their lives. But somehow when it comes to cricket, their allegiance shifts and they feel that, India is the team they would rather go for.
Because there is nothing much to support India when it comes to football, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting if someday, if India makes the Football World Cup, how that dynamic then plays out. But as of now, we don't know that. So
absolutely.
We'll leave it. But talking about the support and talking about the World Cup in general, how's it been at your workplace and around your neighborhoods and things, apart from, Asian expats and, people like you? How have the British Caucasians taken to the tournament?
So
Terrible, yeah? Sorry, terrible.
There are two World Cups going on currently. Incidentally, there is a cricket World Cup as well. The Women's Football World Cup is obviously more popular here. Okay.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I've got at least both colleagues in my current workplace. I work in a very small office with around 50 people, and there are a few cricket fans, and they've actually gone for games. They've paid money and gone outside London for games which doesn't involve England. So people have actually done that, and also colleagues from my former workplace as well. So this guy actually got 3 tickets, and none of the 3 tickets were England games, and he's an English guy, and he went to all of them, and all of them were outside London, and he really enjoyed it. So I think the true fans, the ardent fans, are still watching it, and these guys have always been watching cricket. But the layman on the street, like your taxi driver or a guy at a grocery store or something, probably they don't even know the World Cup is going on. I was happy yesterday in Manchester to see some hoardings. It kind of welcome home to the home of cricket. I saw a lot of these hoardings in the city centre of Manchester, but I haven't seen anything like that in London. Though London's hosting the final and stuff like that, there's literally no buzz about that. So
nothing.
Where I live, when the Football World Cup happened, there was this massive screening and stuff like that. So someone on our local residential, we've got around 4,000 flats here, all mostly young people living here. And somebody had posted saying, is there going to be any screening of the Cricket World Cup? I actually responded to that. Oh my God, do people in England actually know there's a Cricket World Cup going on? Okay. So that's the level of participation, which is quite unfortunate, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I miss the banter. When I was in Dubai, we had Pakistanis, we had Sri Lankans, we had Bangladeshis, we had Brits, we had Aussies, and we used to, during the 2011 World Cup, I remember how much there was bantering going on in office and a lot of trash talk, and I miss that. There's nothing at work. I really try to psych my British colleagues, and they are not even interested, and it disappoints me. So no, there's no interest, and they don't get the excitement, and it's quite disappointing given England claims they invented the game. I mean, not claims, they did. And Lord's is the Mecca of cricket. There's nothing in London. There is no buzz about the Cricket World Cup. So it's a bit sad.
Yeah, I mean, I will add to that. I agree to it. My day-to-day job is that I teach and I work with youngsters, 16 to 18, and then some of them are older as well. And I mean, after every football match, the next day, there's a chat about, who played and, who scored a goal, so and so. And I must be interacting with over 80 to 100 students, separately in separate groups. But I might have just 2, I think, who know that there's a World Cup going on, Cricket World Cup going on. And sometimes we chat about it. But I think that's possibly where the problem is in this country, is that the younger generation hasn't picked it up, and the people who are interested in it are mainly I don't want to say middle-aged, but slightly, the slightly older generation. And they've not passed it down, like how we've possibly got that passion, or we've got that interest watching the games with our families, with our cousins and older cousins and uncles and grandfathers and whatnot. But I think that hasn't continued on to the next generation. Fathers aren't taking their sons to the stadium to watch the match, or aren't talking about it, or I don't know what it is, but the younger generation is not interested, but I don't know, the game hasn't caught on as much as I think football or any other sport has.
And this surprised me, Sid, because I mentioned my hubby's umpiring at the leagues which are 1 level, 2 level below county, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, etc. And he, in his initial years when he started off the umpiring, he was so impressed with the discipline and the enthusiasm of the kids, and the under-19s, or even the club level or the league level cricket. He's so impressed with the grounds and the facilities and the umpires, scorers, everything about the game here. So it surprises me that the general fan club or the audience is not hooked on to an event like a World Cup, when there is definite interest in the counties where youngsters are coming up and there are kids who want to play the game. But the fact that the passion is missing among the fans and the fans drive the game, it's something I cannot understand. I cannot connect why this is happening in this country.
But to be fair, almost every single ground has been filled. I mean, of course, you can say that it's been filled by people who have been
Subcontinent.
Yeah.
Subcontinent fans.
Okay.
But you do see, I think it was Brinda who mentioned, even forget the World Cup, when Ashes happens or when any other country, like last year I went to a number of games when India toured England. Obviously there were a number of Indian spectators, but there were a lot of English spectators as well.
Yeah.
But the demography is middle-aged to people over 40, 50, 60s kind of people who go.
Correct.
Youngsters don't go, which is where I'm actually, I don't call me anti-national in the world of Twitter. I'm hoping England wins the World Cup because I think cricket needs to thrive in England for cricket to become more popular, just for the larger interest of the game, isn't it? I think India can take a setback if it doesn't win the World Cup. Cricket will still continue to be popular. Australia,
not this World Cup. They can win the next one.
They can win the next one.
but I'm really hoping they do well, and so that there is a bit of buzz around.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
one of the
even in
reasons
football-
that you see, I just want to bring this point in that if you read the bulk of the press reports and over the last few years, you will constantly hear about the fact that cricket is not on free-to-air TV, and that has led to a huge dip in interest. But then I was going through some websites, and I saw that Sky is out of the 27 million households in the UK, Sky is there in almost 11 million households. Now, that is a huge sort of a percentage. So if it's there and people are still not watching, then there's obviously some other problem, right?
Sid, is this Sky Sports? Because Sky has multiple channels. Is it Sky Sports has 11 million viewership?
Okay,
that is the question.
That I'm not sure. I assume that
Exactly.
Sky would mean Sky
No.
Sports too.
No, because the Sky Sports, if I have to take, and which I have taken a subscription through another app just for the World Cup, because I don't have Sky at home, it costs me £30 a month over and above the combined package that every household might pay here for the broadband and the telephone and the television is close to about £40-50. You add another sports package costing you £30. That's huge. That's very costly for an average UK household here. 80 to 100 on entertainment is not cheap at all. And then people will therefore not opt for it. Not for cricket. They might do it for football, but they may not do it for cricket.
But that's the argument, maybe the reason why there is more football viewership, because all football, at least the Premier League football in the UK, is either on Sky Sports or BT Sports. BT Sports is another exorbitant channel. I don't have BT Sports because it only shows football and I don't care a bit about it. Whereas, I will pay anything for Sky Sports because, it shows cricket all the time, isn't it? Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but people still subscribe to Sky Sports or BT Sports. BT also Sports, I think they show the UEFA Championship and stuff like that. So a lot of people actually pay for that. Or I think people go to the pub and watch the game, which is like a 90-minute affair, isn't it? I still need to sit through a 90-minute of a football game. It's so long, isn't it? I just can't sit through it. People are able to do that, but whereas with cricket, the problem is people, not many pubs are showing it as well because it's a day-long affair, and that's one of the reasons. And I also saw people like Harsha Bogle and Sanjay Manjrekar in the early parts of the World Cup when they were not commentating or when they were in the hotel, they were trying to watch those channels watch the cricket on television channels are not available because none of the hotels actually offer Sky TV on a regular room, isn't it? It will probably be in the bar downstairs, but never in the room, which is quite sad.
Yeah, but that's the state of affairs right now. And what they could have done, I feel, is at least telecast the World Cup on free-to-air TV as well, at least to get the crowd in.
At least
I
the
don't know.
England matches. I mean,
Yeah,
we could have
at least
started with
England
that.
matches. Correct. So, I know DD in those days when there was not cable on, etc., would do this. You would have some India matches, or you would have highlights of away games, etc., things like that. So, do something to when you know that the viewership is gone and the audience base is not there. Get them back in, create a buzz. But there just seems to be no effort.
But it's too much money at stake. But right now they actually have highlights every day on, I think it's on
Channel 4.
Yeah, which is free to air, and Michael Vaughan comes there. Oh my God. Okay. And
but it comes at like 12 in the night or 11:30 in the night. That's way past bedtime for most kids here.
Absolutely.
So the child is not going to see it. The adults will probably stretch their eyes and watch it. But the days start early here. It's ridiculous. So it's sad again.
This is going back to last weekend. I think in Southampton, they were there's a city square, and they were showing the India-Pakistan game on a large screen, where you could sit outside and watch. And I think in some of the games, we've seen like a fan zone, what they call, in the middle of a city square in Leeds or in different places. But as a family, what we did was we went with my 2-year-old last weekend, hoping that, we'd see the India-Afghanistan match at the city square and, it would be a good atmosphere and everything. But we went and there was nothing at all. So apparently they'd just done that for that 1 or 2 games. And I don't get why they couldn't do something like that, on the weekends where you have a game. And a good way to get people to watch is if you put it on a large screen in the middle of a city square and create a buzz. We were really disappointed because we thought we could, go and enjoy the match in a good atmosphere, even though if it wasn't in the stadium. I think that was something that's missing, and that's something they could have done. I think, even if if they can't go about the the money involved with the viewership and everything, but at least create a buzz. This is a tournament that comes once in God knows how many years to your country. I think they could have used this opportunity and done a little bit more.
Absolutely. I think ECB could have done a lot more. ECB is a very rich sporting body, isn't it? They could have done a lot more to publicize this event. I didn't see any buzz in Southampton, neither in London.
No,
At least in Manchester, I saw a bit of it yesterday because, we had 2 hours to kill because the match got over early. So we were just walking around the town centre and we saw some posters and hoardings. But they haven't. I think the English have gone in the traditional, let's be very low profile about this kind of approach, and that's not working.
Well, there's always Ashes coming up, right?
There's always
I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
It's all about the Ashes. No, but simple things like in the summer, where I work in Canary Wharf, in the park, in the center, they put up screens and they'll telecast sports, especially Wimbledon when it's going on, when it starts. People come down for lunch breaks, get their hampers, sit down on a mat, and they offer mats, and in the evening they'll offer you chairs, etc. It's very common to do this, and it's good advertisement as well for the game, and also people who would you can find companies who are willing to sponsor the chairs because it gives them some advertisement value as well. And they could have done this for 1 or 2 games during the week and nothing.
Yeah, just to add, in Southampton City Square, they are showing the Wimbledon from next week. They're advertising about it, and I was like, "What about the Cricket World Cup?" So just a comparison, like you said, the Wimbledon is going to be shown here, and
same here. Where I live, they're going to show Wimbledon starting next week on a big screen, LED screen and all that.
Yeah, they've even created it in a mall in Canary Wharf, and they've kept nice couches and a turf, a green turf there, an artificial lawn, etc. And
because Andy Murray might play doubles
and might win,
and Joanna Konta could come to the first round. So.
Cricket is like the unwanted child, I think, in this country.
Okay, so I think we've got through the bits that things could have, what they could have done better. But now let's get to the things that they've actually done well. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is that, before in the pre-IPL days, when I'm a huge cricket fan and my wife is not, but whenever I used to, ask her whether you want to come to the ground in India, She used to be like, will there be bathrooms for women? And I said, see, I'm not sure. I cannot guarantee you that. And then she's like, obviously, I'm not coming. So, I mean, this was a pre IPL, and I'm sure a lot of things have changed now, and you find a lot more families going to games and things. But talking from this World Cup's perspective, and we have two women here, and can you tell us how it's been at the grounds? Has it been all comfortable? Brinda, in fact, you posted quite a few things in the India-Australia game.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So
Yes.
Can you start off?
Yeah, sure. So I was at the Oval, and I knew the week before Meenal had been to one of the warm-up games. So you won't believe that that was our conversation. I pinged her and asked her what the facilities were like at the Oval, because I just wanted to be prepared. I haven't been to the Oval before. But no complaints about the toilet facilities. I think there are plenty of toilets, and they were clean, accessible. In fact, we didn't have to queue a lot. So I don't have any complaints regarding the toilets and the cleanliness and that end. But yeah, I mentioned a lot about the food, I think, on Twitter. The food bit was a bit disappointing. As Indians, we always carry, if you know you're allowed food in the stadium, you are going to carry food. So we were carrying enough food for a bit. Obviously, we were 4 of us, and then I think by lunchtime we'd almost finished all of our food. So by the time we went to the stalls, we went towards the end of the lunch break, thinking the queues will be slightly less by then. But there was hardly any food left. I think there was one pizza stall, and there was another, I can't remember what it was now. And there was like an hour-long queue, and obviously if an hour-long queue means that's 1/10 of your match that's gone. And they'd run out of simple things like popcorn, and but obviously the drinks were plenty, flowing. So if you are someone who enjoyed drinks, I don't think you'd have a complaint. But in terms of food, I think I was a bit disappointed. I thought there'd be I'm not saying I wanted a lot of options, but at least I think in terms of availability, I think we would have liked better, I think.
Meenal, you want to go next?
Yeah, I echo Brinda's views. So one, I think first, in terms of the facilities, the comfort, England grounds are fantastic. The toilets are super clean. They're really good. There will be the odd incident where people may be messy, but they have attendants coming in regularly. So it's well stocked. They're really nice. The food is horrible because in general, at the grounds, I've been to India in Wankhede many, many matches, pre and post IPL, and here in London also, or in UK for 5. In general, the food at grounds is not healthy. It's quite crappy and it's expensive. And it's all deep fried stuff. So you'll have like fried chicken and fish and chips, and that kind of food really makes me sick personally. So it's not great. There's no great variety. But the beauty of UK grounds is you can carry your home food, which I have done religiously and regularly for all the games that I go to. In terms of, second thing is if you want to watch the game and not miss parts of it, and be queuing in the crowd behind, trying to get an ice cream or a coffee or your snacks, etc., then there's no point, right? You've gone to the stadium to watch a good game. So I avoid the food queues. They are pretty horrible. What can be done about it? I really don't know. I don't know how ECB or how the ground's going to get this food mess sorted out. No idea. But in terms of, I just feel in terms of the comforts at the ground, and in terms of areas where there's decent amount of stands which come with good shade and are covered. I would any day watch a game in UK versus India. That's my personal view.
So Jay, I think you would agree with that. And if you could just also tell our listeners about some of the challenges you've faced in India as opposed to UK.
Yeah, so I'm a wheelchair user. I've been on wheelchair all my life. So I've never watched a single cricket game in India. So that's the moot point, and I've followed cricket from 1983 onwards. And not because I couldn't afford to. One, I'm sure to get a ticket in India, you will need to know corporator, councillor, or things like that, which I would never do. But I don't think there was any way for me to get into the stadium, isn't it? Because none of our stadiums are disabled access. I may sound anti-national again, but the fact is they don't really care. The BCCI is probably one of the world's richest cricket bodies, and they squat about inclusion, isn't it? Bringing in the right kind of people into the grounds. Okay, so I've never watched a cricket match in India. One of the reasons we moved to the UK was to watch cricket, actually. Okay, oh, wow. And so I've made the most out of it. I've pumped so much money into ECB watching games here. Okay, so. And watching cricket as a wheelchair user in this country is an absolute pleasure. Okay, simply because every stadium obviously is very wheelchair accessible. You sometimes don't get the best views, but that's fine, isn't it? It's better than no views back home. Okay, so like yesterday we were in the front row. It was a good side-on view, but we were right in front of the sun, so I've really tanned myself. Okay, but like tomorrow in Lords, I'll be in the grandstand, under the canopy. That's fantastic. In Oval, you've got wheelchair accessible seats near near one of those hospitality levels where it's well covered and stuff like that. Southampton was fantastic. There was a good cover. Edgbaston is very similar as well. So from that perspective, the accessibility, every Brinda and Meenal spoke about women lose, and I'm speaking about disabled access lose. All these stadiums have multiple disabled access rooms lose, and they're all controlled by a lock. Because normally able-bodied people love to use wheelchair accessible lose for some strange reason, and they're always kept under lock and key with a steward outside who opens it for you, etc. So that's fantastic. And when you want to buy food, there are counters which are at a lower level as well, so I can go without really having to crane my neck, order my food and bring food. I slightly disagree with Meenal. I love fried greasy food. Okay, so that shows in the way I look. So I quite enjoy it. Yesterday we had a mean burger that was fantastic. Okay, so in terms of food choice, obviously food is, you can never please anyone when it comes to food. But the good thing, at least in Southampton, there was a really good Indian stall as well, and the food was very tasty, actually, the Indian food. Yesterday,
that's a surprise.
Yeah, it was quite, again, like I said, there's no universality to truth when it comes to food, isn't it? So we really liked it. And my wife's a vegetarian, so there are enough vegetarian options as well in each of those stadiums. We rarely take food from home. That's because we don't cook at home. So, we might buy some sandwich and stuff like that on our way, but otherwise, most of the time we rely on food there. But we also time when we go to the food, so that we might go during a boring section of the match, maybe around 35th over when people are trying to really settle down. We go and get food because we know during lunchtime it becomes maniacal. So we've not had any cause of complaints, and the facilities, like yesterday in the match got over, and then when we went to the tram stop to take the tram to go to the main Manchester station, it's very crowded, isn't it? It's 20,000 Indians, not the most disciplined group of people. But the way they made sure that there was a separate entrance for people on wheelchairs to go, and there were stewards to come and make sure that you got into the right coach of the tram, which was accessible, etc., was brilliant. So anybody who's on a wheelchair who loves cricket anywhere in the world, if you want to have a great experience, come to the UK. It's definitely worth it.
One word for the security and stewards here. I'll tell you, because I've been ample matches to Wankhede, stood in queues 3 hours, long queues, got crushed, almost experienced stampedes. The security and the stewards are so polite. It amazes me. And in India, I have no idea why the policemen I understand they deal with triple the crowds. I get it. But a smile goes a long way. A hello goes a long way. Enjoy the game. Glad you all won goes a long way. And I have never walked in and out of a UK stadium um, where the steward has not greeted me with a smile or not said congratulations after a victory or not sympathize after a loss. And I love it. I love that aspect. It goes a long way here, and it makes your experience so much more enjoyable. It's something that at least the Indian security should learn from. Seriously, learn from how lovely the people are with you.
Brinda?
Yeah, I'd just like to add to what Jay was saying that so I have a baby on the way. So
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I'm just adding to the experience that I had with respect to that. So I had a baby on board, pin badge on my jacket. That was something that was suggested to me by a friend who lives in London, and she said it goes a long way. I wasn't sure, but I still, I was wearing that badge. And as soon as, the security personnel, or if it was people who were looking after the disabled toilets or anything, as soon as they saw that badge, instantly, they'd call me out and, give me that slight more priority. And very grateful to that. I think that adds to your overall, your day out. You're there for almost 8 to 10 hours in queues, in sitting on the stands, etc. But it was a very smooth experience for me on that regard. And I don't know how it would have been anywhere else in the world. I don't have that much stadium experience. I was quite initially nervous about it, but it went on that regards. It went very smooth, and I must very grateful to the people who organized it, obviously.
Wonderful. And one of the things about stadiums in the UK also is that you have the option of getting that little Sky Sports transistor that you can listen to, right? Which I felt, given the quality of the Sky commentary, adds a nice additional dimension to your watching experience. Have any of you guys tried that?
So, Sid, I didn't go for the device because now you have BBC Radio app and you have the BBC iPlayer app, and there's excellent Wi-Fi at the grounds. So I just connected through my phone into listening to TMS. But I ended up listening to New Zealand West Indies when India-Afghanistan was going on because I was really interested in that game as well. But it's great. I think if you have the opportunity, pick up the device, else just download the app on your phone when you're in the country and listen to TMS. TMS is a savior, especially even when I'm at work. They are really good, really good.
I have not bought the earpiece. I would pay anything to listen to Sky commentary, and pay nothing to listen to Star Sports commentary. But
get the app, Jay. Get the app.
No. So what I do normally, if there are multiple games going on, so Sky, if you have Sky TV, they have something called Sky Go, which is on your phone or your iPad. You can stream sports or whatever. So I always, if I want to listen to a particular commentary, I just use the headphones and listen to Sky Go on my phone. I've not bought that. I always get tempted to buy it. My wife always prevents me from buying the earpiece. She said, one more gadget we are not buying.
But there's a fascination. I think I have this fascination for radio commentary because when you were growing up in the 90s, not all matches were telecast live and you had to rely on All India Radio for the commentary. And it was fantastic listening to the commentary, hiding your Walkman in college and, listening to it quietly in between when the teacher's boring lectures going on. So I'm quite, I still am a big radio commentary tragic. And TMS is just makes me very nostalgic about my childhood days. So I still listen to them. And as I said, because at work, sometimes my Wi-Fi blocks, the work Wi-Fi blocks off the streaming apps. TMS helps me follow the game ball by ball.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we didn't go for the Sky earpiece, but I think at one point my brother and I we did say that we should get one for my father, who would have really enjoyed it, I think. But in the end, like we were at the stadium at the match, so we didn't want to get away and then go and get one. So yeah, we didn't go for that one.
Okay, so let's get to the game itself and your sort of some of the experiences and memories. So if each one of you could pick out, say, one or two things that stood out from the fan point of view in the game. I mean, maybe you can tell us where you were sitting. Was there any specific, interesting chant or banter going on? Or maybe Brinda, were you near Steve Smith when he got booed? Or anything that stands out?
It was interesting because Australia had played already before the India match. So there was an expectation that something like that would happen. So when Smith and Warner were on field, it was, that anticipation was there that somebody's going to say something. And especially when Smith came on, it started off very quietly. It said sandpaper, sandpaper, sand. And, it started to grow. And it was, I don't know, some of us looked at each other and then we said, what's happening? It shouldn't be happening. Why is it happening? And then obviously you had King Kohli come and, sort of tell everyone, that it wasn't right. Or, that was, I wish it was a little bit more different. So that was the one bit that was, I think, because I don't know whether it was because the Indians were in much larger number than the Australians that we got more confidence to sort of, boo or get away with chants like that. But I wish it didn't happen.
I think for me the atmosphere in the stadiums, the one word to, especially when India is playing, is electrifying, isn't it? I'm sure the atmosphere is like that in Indian stadiums as well when India or the IPL happen, but I don't have first-hand experience, as I said before. But here, the atmosphere is phenomenal. I still go back to, we got the tickets for the Champions Trophy final 2 years ago. My wife was 9 months pregnant at that time, and we were there on the hottest day in London. I was really hoping our baby was born in Oval. We got lifetime tickets, isn't it? But she came 10 days after that. So, but that atmosphere, I don't think can be replaced by. There's an equal participation of Indian and Pakistani fans, and the same atmosphere is continued into the World Cup as well. The people playing dhol, is amazing. Yesterday was phenomenal to watch 4 girls play the dhol, during the game, and it was normally dhol is a very macho thing, isn't it? And for women to play that was amazing. And I think the high point of yesterday for both my wife and I, and we were chatting with our friends on WhatsApp, was they started playing the Lagan song, Bar Bar Raha, Bolo Ya Raha. And we were saying they should play that song when India plays England, Unke ghar mein jaake guske marenge. Okay, so I hope they kind of play that song and loop. I think the songs which they play, it almost felt like it was the Indianization of England had become complete during those cricket games which happened. And for me, from a cricket perspective, yesterday was really funny. Chris Gayle stopped 2 balls. He actually fielded. And when he fielded, the stadium erupted. Okay, so like, oh my God, Chris Gayle can field. So that I was glad people saw the lighter side to it.
Going back to Sid's original question, I didn't quite answer it about, what stood out in the game. I did speak about Smith and Warner, but what stood out obviously was the brilliant batting performance, the shots by Shikhar Dhawan and then the fireworks by Pandya and Kohli, and then even, the Dhoni 6, which was literally just 5 or 6 seats next to us that came down. But it's the fans, I think, that makes the whole experience worthwhile. And someone commented on my thread, which I'd done on the different kinds of fans you get at the stadium. Someone said, so were you actually watching the match or were you just watching the fans? But to be honest, you can't watch a match at the stadium without, noticing all these different, different kinds of people that are around you. And it just makes the whole stadium experience very, very, I think, special and very different from what you would, sitting at home, how different that is.
Yeah,
And
in
I'll
fact,
just
if you
add
go to
this.
the stadium, you invariably end up watching less because than you would at home. Because at home you have you're just a few feet away and you have action replays and slow mos
Absolutely.
and all that,
Absolutely.
and you have the commentary. But in the stadium, there's so much else going on that you're bound to notice everything else
Yeah, you
around
are.
you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It adds to the flavor of the game, I think.
My dad introduced me to cricket, and the one thing he told me is, Meenal, I'll sit here, I'll take out the encyclopedias and the history books and teach you all the fielding positions, etc., and all the deliveries, all the shots, etc. If you don't go and watch the game at the stadium, you're really not going to understand what this game is all about. You will not grow to love it as much as you would when you go to the stadium. So every year, without fail, whenever Wankhede hosted a match, my dad took me to the stadium. And I have been forever thankful and grateful about that. My mother hasn't been. That's different. But I would encourage people, take your kids to the stadium if you can. It's an amazing experience. That's where you'll really start loving the game. I don't know now with the crowds, but yeah, I think from a personal experience, I'll still go. I'll keep going. It's an addiction.
So talk about that. Have you taken gone to these games with kids, or have you
No, I don't have kids yet. But I took my little my niece. She was 4. This is 2014 when they were celebrating the bicentenary at Lord's, when Brian Lara, and then there was the rest of the World Cup, rest of the world team which played the MCC 11, Sachin, UV, all the guys had come down. Shane Warne, Brett Lee were all there. Before that, a week before, Lords had organized like an exhibition game. Only Brian Lara was playing in it. And then after the game, there was a lot of events for the kids, and they let the people onto the ground for about, I think, an hour, where we were allowed to step onto the ground and walk around the ground, which was amazing. I took my niece, and she was, at the end of the day, she started screaming, "How was that? And, is that out?" And she was jumping on the chair and thoroughly enjoying it. And me and my husband looked at each other and said, "Okay, we've done one good deed in life. Let's get on with the game."
Yeah. So, my daughter turns 2 tomorrow, and we are celebrating her birthday at Lord's. We are going to take her to Lord's tomorrow. What a
fantastic!
Well, she wasn't born at the Oval, but she now celebrates birthdays at Lord's.
And we actually took her to Manchester last year when India played England in a T20 game there, when Rahul hit his brilliant 100. So we took her there. Obviously, she didn't know anything. But now she kind of knows a bit about cricket. She knows when her father takes the TV remote, cricket's going to come on TV. So the moment I take the remote, she says cricket. And then she recognizes Dhoni and keeps saying Dhoni, Dhoni, Dhoni. And then she keeps telling, "Come on, India." So we've taught her some of those things. So she's doing well for 2. And hopefully tomorrow she kind of gets indoctrinated and continues. But I do feel sad that even in India, a lot of youngsters don't watch cricket as much. Like my nephews and nieces who probably can go watch the game anywhere in the world if they wanted to, or in India, nobody's really interested in the game. And I feel very sad that as a generation, we've let them down.
Well, Brinda, want to add?
First of all, happy birthday to your daughter Jay for tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's very encouraging to know that you're going to take her to the stadium. And so I didn't take my son for the Oval match because it was just a long way to go and come back, and it would have just been a very long experience and day for us to take my 2-year-old. But that's something that I think my husband and I have spoken about, that as he grows older, we will go and we will take him to live matches, not just cricket. I think we follow all kinds of sports. So sport in general, I think when you watch it live, like Meenal said, it's a totally different experience, and the things you learn there, the things you see, is something you can't explain or express or teach someone. So that's something in the future that we have spoken about, that we will try and take my son to more games.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It was wonderful to hear your experiences and your perspective. And maybe, we would love to do part 2 of this at some point later in the year, or maybe we can get your perspective after a test series if you guys are going and watching some test matches. So
after
thanks,
the
guys.
Ashes. You got to talk about this after the Ashes.
Well, we could, and we could get a couple of more people as well, from to get their point of view too. So that brings us to the end of another episode of the 81 All Out podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you prefer. It would be wonderful if we could leave a rating and a review so that more people find us. You can also follow us on Twitter at 81 All Out and check out all our previous podcasts and articles on our website, 81allout.com. In case you're still listening, here's a shout out to our sister podcast on regional movies, whereistheotherbanana.com. You can follow them on Twitter at The Other Banana and watch out for updates on all the movie reviews and discussions that they put out. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on the work we do, so please send us your feedback. Goodbye.
In the air, Srijan takes it! India win!
He'll come back for the second.